Hello everyone, today I'm going to introduce you guys to our new 8-channel NVR kit, our Hino 8-channel NVR kit. So the kit comes with an 8-channel NVR and 4 IPC235A cameras and also 4 60-foot pre-made Ethernet cables. So now we're gonna see how we're gonna set up the whole kit and get it running. So initially, once we take the NVR out of the package, connect it to a power supply from the adapter. I have the mouse connected to the USB port here, and we have a LAN port to connect to our router. So from here, we'll use an Ethernet cable to connect from the LAN to the port on the router. This is the HDMI port. I have a HDMI cable connected from the NVR to our monitor. Since this is an 8-channel NVR, we have 8 ports for connecting 8 cameras. And once we power on the NVR, this will be the first screen will be brought to. So this is the activation screen, and in this activation screen, we have to create a password for the NVR, confirm the password for the NVR, and also create a password for the cameras that will be connected to the NVR. And we recommend keeping all 3 passwords the same. Now let's go ahead and activate the device. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have another option here, reserved email settings, and it is checked. Let's leave that checked because it will ask us to use an email address in the next step, and that email address will be used for resetting the NVR's password in case we forget the password in the future. Do OK. Export GUID file. We do not need this since we are going to set up an email address. Do no. Reserve email address. This is where we will set up the email or enter the email that we will use. Now this email will be used for future password resets if needed or when needed. Do OK. It's asking us to create a pattern. It is also for login, so we don't have to type in the password every single time. We can just draw the pattern to get into the NVR settings. The next step is the NVR internal settings for time, language, etc. We need English, apply. Do we want to go through this setup every time we turn on the device? No, we don't. Uncheck. Go to next. We need the date format. The time and date are already set, so we can go next. Enable DHCP. This will allow the device to get an IP address from your router automatically without us trying to give it a static IP by finding out the network setup and everything. So let's just enable DHCP, let the device do its thing. Next. Now this is Guarding Vision service. It's a cloud service that will allow the device to that will allow us to do surveillance, our camera surveillance, view our cameras, and view our device, check our device over the cloud remotely using a Guarding Vision app. The name of the app is Guarding Vision. We will the instructions to set up Guarding Vision are also on our YouTube channel, so please check the video to set up Guarding Vision. We will enable this service if we want to connect to our device remotely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when I check enable option, this window came up. It's a service and terms agreement window, and it is basically a second level of security. Even if someone tries to someone gets access to our device, they will still need to enter the verification code to see anything, any kind of streaming from the camera. So we have to create a verification code. It can be simple, complicated, depending on our choice. Select the service and terms agreement and do OK. And right now we see the status as offline because I do not have my system connected to the network. But if we have the system connected, the status will go online after we finish this setup. And we also have the QR codes here in the bottom to download the apps for Apple phones or Android phones. Do next. And we don't have to do anything here. Next. And this is the hard drive. This is the hard drive we have on this device. We have a 2 TB hard drive. Initially, the hard drive will show the status as uninitialized. I repeat, it will say uninitialized. In this case, since the hard drive has already been formatted, it shows normal. In your case, if it shows uninitialized, please select the hard drive and click on init, which stands for initialized. And once we click it, it will say erase all data. There is no data on the hard drive, so we just say okay, and that will initialize the hard drive, and it will bring the status to normal on your side, and which will also stop the NVR from beeping. I'm sure you're hearing a constant beeping noise going on in your NVR, and the reason is because the hard drive is usually uninitialized. Doing this will initialize the hard drive and the beeping will stop. We'll click next. We don't have to do this process because this is for adding cameras over the network, but in this case, we will be connecting the cameras directly to the NVR, and we will come to that setup pretty soon. Do next. Now this is where we can choose if we want to record continuously. If we want to record the footage continuously on the NVR, or if we want to record the footage only when there is a motion detected on one of our cameras. So we can you can choose either. I normally do continuous, do yes, or if we want to do motion, we can do that. I'll do that also. Do yes, do okay, and that finishes the NVR setup. That is all the settings that we go through. Now we come to the part where we connect our cameras. Alright guys, so now we're gonna see how we are gonna set up the cameras or connect the cameras to the NVR. So as you can see, we have the cameras are PoE cameras, so they come with a PoE port, which means the cameras get powered on with the Ethernet port, and the NVR supplies power passively through the Ethernet cable. So the ports on the NVR are also PoE ports. And if you guys are wondering how to set up the cameras on the wall, so that there is an outer ring, so we turn it to unlock the outer ring. The outer ring comes off, and as you can see, there is a small screw right there. Do not unscrew it all the way, just loosen it up a little bit, which will allow us to turn this ball in whichever direction we want. That way we can set it up to view at a certain angle. And once we have the right angle, tighten the screw back up to fix it firmly. So as you can see, there is no slot for the wire to come from the side in case we mount it against the wall. We don't want the wire, the camera cable getting crushed against the wall. So in this case, what we can do is we have 2 slots here, 1, 2, and 3. We actually have 3 slots. So we can actually, if we have a plier, just break that little part right there, and we will have a small gap right there for the wire to go through. That way we are not squishing the wire against the wall when we fix the camera on the wall. We set it up, and we have 3 holes for the camera to mount onto the wall. So once we do that, so that's how you can set up the camera against a wall or a roof. And once we're done with that, we can put the ring and lock it, turn it sideways and lock it. Now let's connect the camera to the NVR. So the connection is very, very basic. It's a plug and play setup. One end of the Ethernet cable goes into the PoE port of the camera. The other end can go at any port, but I would normally start with 1 and go from there, 1, 2. And you can also notice that the ports are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 through 8. And I'm going to connect this camera. It will take a few seconds for the device to detect the camera, power on the camera, and for the camera to start streaming. Okay, great. Now the camera is powered on, detected by the device, and it is streaming. As you notice, it is a very simple plug-and-play setup. So just setting up the NVR is a time-taking process, but once the cameras are set up on the wall, all we need to do is plug one end to the camera, the other end to one of the ports of the NVR, and we're good to go. Let's connect the other cameras also, so we have a complete setup. You have to excuse the mess. We have 4 cameras, and I'm trying to set up everything in one place, but I have the wires colored alternatively to sort of give us an idea as to how the cameras are connecting to the NVR. So we have 4 cameras, 1, 2, 3, 4, set up on the NVR, and as you can see, the cameras are starting to stream. Great, now we have all 4 cameras streaming. All we have to do is plug and play, and they will stream automatically by themselves. Now that is pretty much the basic setup or basic instructions for setting up the NVR with 4 cameras. Now that we have the cameras connected and streaming, we will see some other settings on the NVR or on the cameras. We will see how we can set up motion detection, and also how we can change or use other resolution types that we have available on the cameras. For this, we will so we have a mouse connected, so as you can see, we have a pointer on the monitor. Right click, and we will select menu, and it's asking us to log into the NVR, and we created a pattern. Once we log in, we will see the options inside the menu, and playback is once we have footage recorded, we can click on playback, and we will be able to select cameras, select the date, and that will pull up the footage for each camera. Currently we don't have any footage because we don't have any recording set up. We will see a blue line underneath here in the play area, and we will be able to watch the playback from each camera. Export is if we want to export footage from a particular channel. Currently I have 4 channels, 1, 2, 3, 4 channels connected to 4 cameras. So we can select, say we want to download footage from the camera that's connected to port 1. And we can select the camera, select the date, start time, end time, and search, and it will pull up a small footage from that particular time. To play that footage, we can select that. If we have longer recordings done, we will see more of these small windows. We can select a window, and we can play that part to see if that is a footage we want to download. If that is the footage we want to download, we can just check the box for that bit, and we click on export. So to export, we will have to have a flash drive or a storage device connected either to the front part of the NVR or on the back where we have 2 USB ports. We can connect that, and we select that folder that will export or save the footage into that flash drive. Now that's for playback and export. Now let's get into the camera setup. So we select camera from the menu options. As you can see, we have 4 cameras. The status shows a blue circle with a white triangle. That means the cameras are streaming. OSD is on-screen display, and we want to name the cameras. Camera name by default is just set to camera, and we want to name the camera front door or alley, whichever name of our choice. So I can name this camera as front door, and we can have the date format set up, and we can choose what we want to display on the screen. Apply, always apply settings before we get out of the setting. So we name the first camera now we can select the camera 2, and we can give a name to the camera 2, so on and so forth. Image. In image, we can adjust the brightness, contrast, depending on where the camera is set up. Motion. PTZ is for cameras that have pan, tilt, and zoom options available. These cameras are fixed lens cameras, and they don't have any PTZ controls, so we don't have to worry about that. We will go to motion. This is where we set up the motion detection for the cameras. By default, we see a grid. So sometimes we might see the image without any grid. In this case, we have to make some grid lines. So we just click and drag on a certain area. So the area where we have the grid lines is where the camera will sense a motion, will send a notification if it senses motion. If there is no grid area, that means there is no area the camera is going to sense motion. So say we want to sense motion in this area, I will select that area. So there is a grid line drawn on that area. So if there is a movement, or there's an object, or if there's a motion that gets caused in that gridded area, we will get a notification on the NVR from the camera. And we can have the sensitivity set to whichever level we want. Apply. And we can go to settings. So if we click on the settings, the gear icon, we can set it up to where if there is a motion detected, then we want the camera to go full screen on the monitor. We can do full screen. Audible warning. If we set it up to audible warning, the NVR will beep, will make a beeping noise. If we select notify surveillance center, we will get a notification on our apps on the Guarding Vision app. Again, to set up Guarding Vision, please find our video on Guarding Vision setup. Email is if we want to set up an email notifications. Trigger alarm output is if we have any alarm devices connected to the NVR. We can get a notification on the NVR. That's about setting up motion detection. Now we will see how we can enable or disable audio on the cameras, and also how we can change the resolution and bitrate and other options on the cameras. For that, from the menu options, we will go to record. And as you can see, the first option is schedule. This is where we will set up a schedule if we want to set up continuous recording. Right now it's set to continuous recording. If we want to set up motion recording, we will select none and click and drag on the whole area. It gets erased. Now I want to set up motion detection recording only, which means I want to record only when there is motion detected on the cameras. Select motion. I want to do motion recording just for Monday and Tuesday. I can do that. I want to set up continuous recording Wednesday and Thursday. I want to do motion detection on Friday from 12 midnight to 10 a.m. in the morning, and do continuous recording from 11 to 12 midnight. So we have the option to I want to do alarm recording on Saturday. So we have various options on how we want to schedule. Now the second option is, and apply, always apply. The second option on the left is parameters, and this is where we see the resolution for the camera. So right now I have the camera 1 selected, and the stream types. These cameras have built-in microphones, which will make the NVR detect that automatically, and the stream type is set to audio and video. And a lot of times we do not want to record audio from the cameras. We just change that to video only. And resolution, it's set to max resolution. We can change that if we want to have more footage stored. Obviously, higher the resolution, the more storage the cameras will take. And bitrate type, constant, and frames per second, it's set to 15 FPS, which is sufficient, but now I want much more. I'll select 20. Bitrate, higher the bitrate, better the viewing or stream, the stream that we view on the cameras. By reducing it, we can have more storage from the cameras. Increasing it will reduce the storage. I will just leave it at the default value, apply. And we can just do yes. And the settings are applied. And override is if we want the footage to keep on overriding. Once the hard drive is full, then we select override. I would recommend not unchecking it, leave it as it is. And that's the basic setup for the cameras. And we still, and also I guess one last thing, if we go to maintenance option, in the maintenance option, you will see your device info, like the model number, and we have the serial number. The serial number, in case you want to know the serial number, we just need the 9 digits, 9 numbers. So if we see alphabets in the end, exclude the alphabets. Whichever 9 numbers you see before the alphabets will be the serial number. In the firmware version, the verification code, which will be used, you will need this verification code. You will need this when using Guardian Vision app. And we also have log information to check the log. And if we go to default, if we want to restore the device to the factory default settings, this is where we'll find it. And that concludes, and also one last thing, HDD is for looking at your storage. And this is your hard drive to see the status is normal. It's functioning pretty well. So that concludes the setup of the NVR with the cameras and the camera setup and everything. But there is a lot more to what we can do on the NVR, but this will help us set up the NVR and get us going forward. If you have more questions, please look through our other videos to debug other issues. You can also visit our support page to get your other questions answered. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more updates. Thank you.